Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 10 of A Medium's World. I'm so excited to have Paula Haygarth joining in tonight for our final conversation of the series. This has been an unbelievable event. It never ceases to amaze me. The stories, the inspiration, the oh my gosh, the interactive learning that takes place for all of us. Death is always something that we as mediums are dealing with. We're either, as I said, we're either talking to people about death, we're talking to those who have died, or we have a lot of death that occurs in our life. Just in this series alone, I have had two losses take place in close, in close connection to me. So I had a friend that passed away last week, which I'm still reconciling and processing. Which I again so grateful because I had the chance to connect and visit with her here yesterday. So it was so great to be able to still, connect and to have our what would be final goodbye from the physical, but like a hello from the spirit world. And then I was just talking with my son probably about a half hour ago, and a friend of his passed away unexpectedly as well. So always, conversations for us as mediums are always in some way about death, concerning death. Death follows us wherever we go. What's really, it's funny. I remember several years ago, my husband in his sense of humor that he has. It was and again, I've probably there's maybe some of you have heard this story already, but he's jokingly said to me one time. He said, "You know what I've come to realize," he said, "is that you and the coroner have the same job description." And I said, "Really?" I said, "How is that?" And he goes, "Well, both of you are, set out to determine the cause of death." Guess that's right. Part of our connection to the other side and in the evidential pieces is not only being able to relay the beautiful messages that come through, but also to provide those evidential nuggets, those things that come about that create this undeniable awareness to the fact that the life continues long after the physical body, after we meet our demise, so to speak, from this physical body. So I'm so glad that, not only, of course, to the series about empowering mediums, but of course, for those of you who are grieving, just that message that life after death is continues, and that our loved ones are super close, and that no matter how challenging and difficult it is to move through any loss, regardless of the relationship, it is a love that feels lost, and it must be honored for that. I always say as well that the depth of grief that we experience is directly related to the amount that we've loved. And so every relationship is unique. The times in which one loss might affect you more than the other is, an indication just of the unique relationship that was shared between two people. And again, honoring yourself and honoring grief and honoring, even as mediums, as we sit down to do these readings, to honor everyone for where they are in their grief is essential. All right. Well, that's as we begin here, as always, as we've done night after night after night, I want to take a moment to catch our breath, to bring us together in connection and unity, and allow for all of us to fall deep into our hearts, into this space, and into this opportunity for this beautiful, beautiful conversation of what is honoring this sacred connection of the divine, the sacred connection to those on the other side, and the sacredness of your gifts, talents, and abilities as mediums. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and take a deep breath with me. And just allow yourself to really fall into the presence of this moment, this great, great moment that we've been gifted by the universe, that we've been gifted by spirit for uniting us, bringing us together, unifying and connecting all of us in a way that only, God can decide, or only God has orchestrated, that higher power, regardless of what name you put upon that one, that love that brought us together through what is the unconditional presence, through space and time, that unites us, that bonds us, that connects us, not only in this lifetime, but even through other lifetimes, where we understand the wisdom of the soul, the sacredness of life begets more life, begets more life, that there is only life in this universe, for all things continue to thrive and to live in a change of form, and that we begin to understand that death is but a word that we use to share or express a change in form, that life is always and life will continue to be, whether we are physical or non-physical, the eternal journey of the soul through the history, through the timelines, and through the experiences that we have gleaned and cultivated, the skills, the talents, the abilities that come forward into this lifetime that help us to create this link between worlds, to receive the communication, to hear the whispers, and to allow for the healing through the words, through the presence, through the connection and bond between heaven and earth to be witnessed. How lucky are we that we get to do this? How lucky are we that we believe and we understand and we know of something more beyond this physical world. And for that, I truly praise and give thanks. And for that, I feel whole. And that I honor these abilities to connect to the unseen world as sacred, that I recognize and understand them to be sacred inside of me, and I honor and recognize that they are sacred inside of you. And it's my greatest hope and prayer that everyone begins to understand and to know of their own talent and ability to communicate across the veil, to know and receive the love of their loved ones who are not so much a part of the past, but have gone on before, that hold space for the future. And how lucky are we that we get to use our hearts, our love to keep us bound and connected forever. And forever and ever and ever. Amen. And I invite you now to take a deep breath in and just breathe it in. Just breathe in the knowing of this beautiful connection, of this by chance, by luck, that we get to be here, by chance, by luck of the universe and of the divine, that we have gathered for this conversation. And we say, I'm so lucky I get to do this. I'm so lucky that this is my job. I just am so, so grateful. And of course, grateful that for all of you to be here as well. I am extra, extra grateful if that's even possible, to welcome tonight's guest to the conversation, Paula Haygarth. She's a spiritual teacher, she's a medicine woman, she's a medium, she's got it all going on. And she really helps, to bring forward a very unique approach in helping her clients to heal, to move forward, and really cultivate a life that really is not only nurturing to their soul, but it really helps them to be the light that they are meant to be as well. And so Paula, oh my gosh, thank you, girl, for taking time out to be here. I know that you've been going through lots of shifts and changes and coming into even more fullness of your own light, which is very exciting because you are such a gift to all. And I'm excited that we get to share in this conversation together.
Me too, Bonnie. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Are you feeling, I don't know if it's just me, but even as I was sitting and getting ready tonight, like, oh my gosh, the energy of purpose behind this conversation is so big. And I know that, we're coming to the end of it. And it's like the accumulation of all of the energy from all the conversations. There's so much purpose in your story. There's so much purpose in everyone's stories. And can you feel just the I don't know, I don't want to say importance, almost feels like too small of a word.
Yeah, it's a word that I've been having trouble finding as we move into tonight because I felt it all day. I took time. My phone shut off. Drove up into the mountains. I'm fresh, new in the mountains. So I drove up into the mountains and
Yes.
found a beautiful, quiet lake and nature where there was no service. And, I was just so moved by the nature.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
And
connection to spirit, which is just can be found so strongly in nature. It's like the
mhm.
purity of that connection is just, amazing.
So yeah, in preparation for whatever this is,
Right.
I went
Exactly,
there today.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always one of my favorite things, funny people will sometimes say to me, "So tell me, what exactly do you do?" And I'm like, "You know what? I actually don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
How lucky am I that I get to do it, you know?"
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
So, Paula, you have, of course, had many experiences, not only with the spirit world, throughout even, the last, decade, but if you want to share a little bit about your story about how you started, like, what was it like for you? And how did you wake up to your talents and abilities and connection to the other side?
Um, I had graduated from university. I was working in the oil and gas industry as an environmental scientist, which sounds so funny to me now that I say this. Um, I was struggling a little bit to feel like I was, maybe doing the right thing, the right job. And then so I was switching jobs a little bit here and there because I didn't want to be out doing this hard work out in the oil field, and ended up at this just a different job, and I had started getting ringing in my ear and pain in my stomach. And I kind of felt up until this point I was mostly oblivious to any of this kind of work other than I knew there was psychics. I knew that, there's dead people floating around everywhere, but pretty oblivious. So my then boss, who surprised me because I didn't really peg her for this kind of person, she said, "You should go see my Reiki healer." And I was like, "What is that? What are you talking about?" Anyways, I go to Moose Jaw. I see this woman, and she puts her hand on my belly and she says, "Your ears are ringing." And I'm like, "All the time." And she said, "And you got digestive issues?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "It's because you're not doing what you're meant to do."
Mm.
And I was like, "Cool." Like, what is it?
I just spent all this money on a university education, and now
Yeah.
you're saying, right?
Right. Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be doing this? What?
Right. And then she said, "Who's George?" And I was like, "No kidding. That's my uncle. He was one of my favorite uncles, and he had recently passed. I think it was only about 4 months." And so I said, "That's my uncle." And she said, "Well, he says you need to do this work." And, feeling back into that and thinking back about it, I remember sitting there going like, "What the fuck is this lady talking about?" Like,
Right.
she's bonkers, and I didn't know what she meant by this work. So I like a kindergarten student had to say like, "What color of crayon am I supposed to use? What are you talking about?" And she said, "Just go take a class." So I did. And I took Reiki. And I remember being in class thinking, all of these women are lying. They can't feel what they say they feel. I feel nothing. This is weird. But I took it in because I love to learn. And then the teacher there said to me, um, "Have you ever heard of body talk?" And I was like, "Oh, no, I have not. What is that?" So she told me about it. So I decided to sign up for it. I felt blind. I was just there was there was these breadcrumbs everywhere, and I just was like, "Oh, that looks fun. Oh, that looks fun. Oh, that looks fun. Okay, I'll go do that. Cool, I'll keep going." So I took this class, and it satisfied that science part of me because it talked about
Right.
anatomy and it showed me a bunch of things, and so I finished my body talk class on a Sunday and I went to Hawaii the very next day on a Monday. And I was with a whole group of people. Some people I didn't know well, some were really close to me. And one of them was a friend of mine, a male friend of mine who teases me all the time. He still teases me to this day. And he's like, "Okay, little witchy, whatever you learned, can you practice it on me?" And I was like, "Sure." And I am just literally, like a little kid going, looking at the book, looking at the instructions, follow the instructions, just really curious about learning. And all of a sudden, I just said to him, "Did you lose a really close person to you in high school?" And he started crying. And so through his body, this is how it worked for me. Through his body, I picked up on grief loss, not healed from that yet. And then I noticed it was an accident. And he was like, he was blown away because he came in as a skeptic. And not that that's a bad thing, right? But he
Right.
came in as a skeptic. So did I. I was a skeptic. I was like,
I was
let's
gonna
test this
say,
stuff out.
yeah, you're still
Something
taking off the
stupid.
training wheels. You're still going, I don't know if I
Yeah,
believe this. Yeah.
I'm sure about this. And so just through these learnings and just being curious, it was immediately after I took some training that satisfied a piece of me, which is somewhat science minded, all of a sudden things started to appear. And so I went back to my job and I said to my boss, hey lady, can I work part-time? Because I really like this stuff and I can't do both. And she was like, no. And I said, well, then I'm gonna have to quit because I have too many clients already. And she said, okay, fine, part-time. And then I think a few months later, I had to quit because I was just this little traveling body talk woman taking my massage table in the back of my little SUV, going to everybody's houses, still being curious and learning. And that was in 2012. I started doing that, and I just haven't looked back. And it's evolved for sure. But
Yes.
that's how I got into this work.
Wow. Wow. Amazing.
The universe was like,
right? It's like
yeah,
I think I shared on the other night on the phone call too, or we were in the conversation, where even for myself, I remember, I just knew that I needed to do something, and I suddenly found myself in training for theta, and I'm like, I don't even know how I got there. And I
right.
remember a lot of things being said to me because I didn't even know what energy was all about. I didn't even know what vibration was about.
Yeah,
And I remember I had one of my mentors said to me, one of my teachers said, Bonnie, you just need to raise your vibration, just raise your vibration and you're going to see that's going to make all the difference for you. And I'm like, okay, great. And then I'd come away from those sessions and I'm driving home in my car and I'm like, I have no idea what vibration is. What the F is vibration? I have no idea what vibration is. What's vibration? Like I was so naive to
yeah,
everything energy. Like I really relate to what you said. So like even though I had been having experiences with the spirit world my whole entire life, I had no understanding about what was taking place. Like that was
yeah,
like this huge wake up moment for me, as like vibration. What is that? Like, there's that naivety that sits there, that again, where you come in just with it, with this innocence in terms of
yes.
what actually this whole other world is about.
Such great words, naivety and innocence. That's exactly what it was for me. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And did you find that every session you were doing, it just kind of got stronger and
yeah,
stronger and stronger? Yeah.
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 So visions would start off with like more like symbols, like I would see an apple and that would be it. And I'm like, that's it? What am I supposed
Right.
to tell this person? You
Right.
know? But I just went with it. And then,
Yeah.
eventually it was like a movie playing out
Right.
uh, in my eyes.
Yeah, oh my gosh. So, and I think that's such a great thing for people too, especially when they're just learning in terms of this as well, is that, you're not necessarily going to get the full picture or the full message, that it happens and you just begin to very gradually begin to understand what things represent, what the meaning behind it is, and our job isn't so much as to be able to figure it all out. Our job is just to be able to share that impression, that vision, that thought, the idea with the person that we're working with, and it's up to them to figure out how it fits in their world, and we
Sure.
learn through those conversations.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, oh my gosh. Wow. And did you find that, so again, you talked about your friends saying, okay, witchy, come here and let's do this. And of course you had like right away a massive amount of people coming and asking for help and support, and support in their life with this. Was being a medium a part of something that was easy for you to accept? Was it something easy for other people to accept around you?
Yeah, it was easy. It was like all of a sudden I just got back on the bike and started riding it again.
Yeah.
And nobody really around me, like my friends or family, distant, gave me a hard time about it, just teasing like that. Like that friend would
Yeah.
be like,
Yeah.
are there ghosts around us tonight? Like just lots of that. Like everybody was so
Yes.
intrigued and had fun with it. And I appreciated that. Probably
Mhm.
more of the struggle was like my own internal, like, I don't really know what to call myself. And I still
Right.
struggle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think because again, one to define what we do can be really difficult
Yeah.
because it's energy. And so I know that, as when you move into your sessions or I do my healing sessions, I'm witnessing what's taking place. And there are sometimes no words to describe what it is that's actually happening, right? There's like, I don't even know how to define this. I don't even know what title to give myself or, that's really going to speak to some form of identifying what's going on
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
and even in terms of writing up services or anything like that, it's really hard to put all of that into words because it's what's being witnessed as opposed to what translating through a language.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of my clients, when someone asks them what does Paula do, they're like, I don't know. You just go
You
experience
just
it.
need to go.
I don't know.
Exactly. That's like a common. So my friend just said I'm supposed to come and see you. Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So tell me what. So
Totally.
tell me, how can I help you? I don't know. I don't know. Actually know why I'm here.
Yeah. Exactly. Me neither. It's okay.
Exactly. We'll figure it out together.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so amazing. So do you have a special story, Paula? Like you've not only, I mean, you kind of came into this within it, you started doing this work, but is there something that happened, whether personally or even professionally, even prior to or I'm saying even after your Uncle George came through, like,
Mhm.
that really solidified your belief in life after death?
I think one of the most interesting experiences I had was early on, and I think this is really where I learned that I was a medium and that it worked through me working on bodies. So more often than not, I end up seeing people's loved ones after I've connected to their physical body, their alive
Yes.
body. And so early on, I had this male show up for a session, and same thing. He's like, my girlfriend sent me. I've never been to a medium before, and I've never been to a psychic before. And I was like thinking in my head, buddy, you're here for body talk. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
Because I was not calling myself a psychic or a medium, even remotely. And I was like, well, it's okay. How about you just lay down on the massage table and we'll just figure it out. And and I like proof. I do. I like proof. And this day I got so many pieces of proof that I was like, okay, this is undeniable, right? So I'd never met this person. He didn't even know what I did.
Yeah,
So someone sent him there to tell me,
that you were
okay,
a
like
medium.
you're a medium. And he thought he was coming for a reading. I thought he was coming for body talk.
Right.
And as soon as he laid down, I could see this male figure standing beside him, and it just was so fast and so accurate. Like I said, did you lose a friend in a car accident? And he said yes. And all of a sudden I saw three other people, and I said, were three other people with him? And he said yes. And I said, did he used to wear like really cool Converse shoes? And he said yes. And I was like, oh my god. I said, what? Hey, was his name Jason? And he's like, yes. And I was thinking in my head, holy sh.
Right.
And then he said, wait, was it like around March 19th? Because that's my birthday. And I saw my birthday written before my eyes. And he said it was
Yeah.
actually 2 days after.
Wow.
Oh, I said, hey, did you used to? So then his friend started showing me this guy's personality. And I said, hey, did you used to like instigate bar fights and then expect your friend to clean up your mess? And he's like, yes. So just, it was so quick and so fast. And
Yeah.
like, there was a special message for him about this guy's sister that he really needed to hear. And I had no idea
Oh,
up until that point that I could deliver something like that to a person. And I've
wow.
never seen, I can't remember what he looks like. I've never seen him again.
Yeah.
It was just one of the most like eye-opening, awakening moments of my whole career, I'd say.
Mm. Oh
And then
my
after that, I was
gosh.
like, well, like
I guess I'm a medium.
so here we go.
Okay, who knew, right?
Yeah.
I have a very good friend of mine who's an astrologer, and the very first time I met her and she did an astrology reading for me, she looked at my chart and she goes, "Oh my God, you are so psychic." And I looked at her and I'm like, don't call me a psychic. I'm not a
Yeah.
psychic, right? I had to like, what saying? It was just this
Yeah.
thing, this description, because I had heard of psychics, but I never could, I would ever have considered myself as being a psychic. Even though I taught, had dead people showing up, I never would have considered myself being a medium. Like again, like I said,
Yeah.
that innocence, I had no idea about what was all transpiring there as well for myself. So I love how, he showed up and got the message and helped you to identify really what was going on for
Yeah,
yourself.
he got a
And
message and I got a message.
yeah, right? Oh my gosh, what a very profound story. And I think there too, there's lots of times that there are people who come in for these sessions who are just as important of teachers for us as mediums as we are in helping them. I know there's so many stories of things that have played out in the sessions where I've learned something. I understand more about the afterlife because of something that was shared
Yeah.
in that conversation, or there's even guidance sometimes that will come forward for a client that is very beneficial and helpful for something going on in my life too. It's just
Yeah.
amazing at how it all transpires and takes place. I wanted to say, this happens, and just want to share this with people, that we have all different kinds of senses in terms of how we receive from the spirit world. And one of the things, as Paula said, she, immediately as she would work with the body and begin to create connection with the body, she was getting the impressions coming in from the spirit world. That's a form of receiving that happens through the palms of our hands, which can be known as clairtangency, sometimes even psychometry, where again you can hold an object and you can get immediate downloads from the spirit world. I have worked with some mediums who have, they actually avoid hugging people, because the moment they hug someone, they're getting instantaneous connection to the other side, and they're completely taken out of, the moment that they're in. And so it's not that they're not loving people, they just know that the moment that they make any kind of contact energetically with the individual, it's an instant connection to the other side. There was a workshop I did many years ago where I had this lady that was there, and we go through all of the different soul senses, the clairvoyance, the claircognizance, all of these ways in which we can receive from spirit. And she was so frustrated at one point in it, and she said, I actually don't know why I'm here, Bonnie. I just am listening to everybody else's stories, and they're feeling things, and they're seeing things, and they're smelling, and they're, have all of this stuff going on. She goes, I have nothing happening, nothing. I'm so confused. You said at the start of this workshop that we were all here because we were mediums. She says, I've had no experience that really tells me that this is actually true for me. And so we had, again, and I said to her, I said, just if you just want to wait for one moment. And I connected with her angels, and I just said, what's going on here? And they said she's clairtangent. And I was
Mm.
like, oh. So I said to her, I said, okay, we're going to try an exercise now. And this is really going to help. This is another form of communication. And I advised her, or I was guided to advise her, that she just needed to place her hand, to warm up the palms of her hand, and place her hand. She could either touch her sitter's knee, hold her sitter's hand, or just hold her hands close to the individual, whatever she felt most comfortable in doing. So she did it. And of course, she was like, okay, I'll give this a try. And the moment she touched this woman's hand, there was like a jolt went through her body, and she was just boom, boom, boom. I've got a male here. He's showing me he's your dad. And she's just like going, then she'd pull her hands away, and it would stop, and then she'd like go back in, and it would happen again for her. So it is, that happens. That can be a common thing for some mediums, just like yourself, where it's right through the body. It's like there's a communication of cells talking to cells, and it
Yes.
becomes the body is the transmitter of the information.
100%. It's like the coolest experience, to be honest with you.
Yeah, wow. I'm actually kind of jealous because I don't have. Like if I'm doing readings for people, I will often hold my hands out towards them. And so, I mean, healing energy and stuff is happening. And I know receiving is happening that way. But I mean, I can hug people and touch people, and I don't get those instant downloads like that. Yeah, it's
Mm.
really cool. Really cool. Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah.
when you I mean, obviously you shared a little bit about how you came away from your training and you just said, oh my gosh, I need to help people in this way. And I know for you, Paula, as well, you're someone who's been very devoted to your own healing path as well. Like you're someone who it not only, dabbles in things, but you are committed to doing the work in order for you to be as healthy emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And in that, is there, what would you say was the moment where you just realized that you needed to devote your time, your energy to helping others? Like, what was it? And I know you talked about your job and you came away from, your training and saying, wow, I have all these clients, I need to do this. But what was the deciding factor for you? Like, what was it that really said, oh my gosh, I have to help other people? Did you always feel like you needed to help people?
Yeah, actually, when I went to university, I was going to do social work until something told me not to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
something.
yeah, and so I always knew I wanted to help people in some way. But you, for me, it's more about like I was so devoted to the sense of curiosity in me and like the investigator in me. I knew that I was onto something, so I couldn't put it down. It's like the best book you've ever read in your life, and you're supposed to go to sleep, but it's 3 in the morning. You just can't put it down. I couldn't put it down if I wanted to.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it was in that time period where I had asked the boss for a
Yes.
part-time position. And then and it was just that day where I was like, yeah, this has to be my last day.
Yeah.
I felt that devotion on that day. And I
Yeah.
just didn't look back.
Yeah, I totally understand that, and I think, it was like I remember having the conversation with my husband that said, "I can't even explain to you what I just know I can't do this other job. I have to
Yeah,
move forward in this. I feel like this is what that's what I'm meant to do. There's something bigger going on here."
yeah,
And I couldn't, again, not something you can articulate. It was just like all of a sudden there was a switch that just said, I don't even feel like I have a choice here anymore.
yeah. It wasn't, you're right, Bonnie, it
Yeah.
wasn't a choice. Like
Yeah.
if I tried to force myself to go back to that lifestyle of, a 9 to 5 job or working in those sort of positions,
Yeah.
my whole body just shut down and I would get sick.
Right. Yeah.
So I couldn't do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And that's really becoming very attuned to yourself too. And you're going, how is it, I'm shutting down, I'm getting sick. It's like you begin to make choices that of course are going to steer you in the opposite direction, right? I think there too, I always joke about free will. And I always say, I think we do have free will, absolutely, that we have the power of choice and we can, choose to help other people or not help people, whatever. We can do this job or that job. We have free will to a
Yeah.
certain point. And then there's always this other part of us, this deeper, I would say, almost like purpose for our life, which becomes a part of what is the soul's mission and goals in this lifetime, that become the overriding factor, where all of a sudden we've been able to express our free will in all kinds of different ways. And all of a sudden it's like, and now you're here to do some work. And then
Yeah.
it's like there is no choice anymore.
Totally. That's
It
exactly.
becomes bigger. It's bigger than what we feel we even have a choice. Yeah,
Right.
it's really where the dharma begins to be seen and recognized.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. What was your biggest challenge, Paula, in terms of your development, even in stepping forward, even as a medium? Like what was the biggest hurdle or thing you had to overcome in really fully stepping into who you are?
Oh man, I don't want to bring
I
this
know.
conversation like this. But for me, it
Well, it's
was,
kinda, it's a part of it.
yeah,
It's an important
yeah,
piece of
it
it, you
is.
know?
Um, and I still quiver a bit talking about my biggest challenge, but it was that I wasn't willing to admit that darkness existed in our world,
Yeah.
or that there could be um people doing bad work in this work, or that I used to actually think that if people believed in something dark, or they, that was just a belief. There's no such thing. And so once again, I got presented with opportunities to face those things. And um, I mean, that's why Bonnie's in my life, because she helps me face those things. And so, yeah, my biggest challenge was admitting that it's not all um
Love and
peace and love
light.
and light and
No,
rainbows and
it's
butterflies
not
and
a,
unicorns,
it's
rainbows. Like, it's
mhm.
not, and it sucked. It
Yeah,
sucks. I still do have some trouble rectifying that in my heart, like, firstly admitting that there is darkness in our world, and that, but then to have to admit that there's people doing bad things in this work, it just, yeah, my soul just can't, it never
yeah,
will. Yeah.
yeah. There is, and I think, when we look at understanding of dark forces and false light and all of
Yeah.
that, it is a part of it, and that there is corruption and there is manipulation, and there are people who are so brilliant in what, I always, it's like, to me, it's always like the computer hackers, like they're so brilliant at what they do. If they would just use their talent for good, imagine the contribution they could be, like things like that, right? And it's no different than for some of the people, that are in the industry or that are doing this work. It's unfortunate that there are people who give, mediums who have high integrity and a depth of compassion in doing this work, that really give them a bad rap. There are so many, there is, I always say, there's an unhealthy consciousness about mediumship, but it's understandable, because there are indeed people taking advantage of the grieving. There are people who proclaim themselves as being mediums who aren't connected with their, like, even their left side of their brain, I mean? Like, it's just not happening, and it's so unfortunate that that does exist. And I think there too, I have one of the things I say, even in the level 1 program, I've got a quote in there, is that sometimes we need to experience the dark to truly know that the light exists. And that light is to know the light that exists inside of ourselves. That, like the brighter you get, like a lamp out, a lamp post, moths will always come
Mm.
there. Moths will always be there. And so those challenges, as you raise in vibration and you're out there doing good work, the moths always show up. Where there's light, there's dark, where there's positive, there's negative, where there's up, there's down. And it is within the dichotomy, or we could say even within the balancing within the universe, that these polarities exist. And so I was like I was different in the sense that I had all of these experiences with the dark myself, growing up, and some of the challenges I had. And then I reached this place when I'm looking at someone who is all about shifting subconscious beliefs and changing. I'm like, wow, well, maybe it was just a belief that I had that was attracting all of that darkness into my life and those experiences. And I even had a mentor at that time who said, oh, yeah, that's just a belief. I don't ever have those experiences. That I was like, oh, okay, well, that must be a belief. And so then, even in cleaning up all of the beliefs, wow, there's light and there's still dark. Like,
Hi.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it is. And again, we can be challenged in time and time again from, we could say, of dark false light or dark
Yeah.
energies, and always the invitation for us to step into our power. But it can be difficult and challenging to do that, because we just want to crawl under the covers and hide and just hope and pray it all goes away.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was definitely at the point where it was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm ending this work. I'm not
Yep.
doing this anymore.
I'm gonna go
That's it.
back to working 9 to 5. I'm not doing this
Yeah.
anymore.
There's
I'm
the
just
job.
going to, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it challenging I would imagine too, within it, even your own beliefs in terms and that trust factor for you, of trusting your guides, trusting your angels, trusting your connections, trusting what you're receiving. That it probably got really, really. I mean, I would say, and I know that it did. It got really challenging for you to say, okay, I don't even know what's true anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. it was good because eventually I got to have a clean slate there where I
Right.
just wiped it all out. And then it's kind of like when you go on one of those gluten-free diets where you take it all out and then you reintroduce to see what's good for you. And I did that. And I feel really good about it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's
I
been the hardest, but
yeah.
it's all, and it's not over, but it's also like it tears me up thinking about how much of a gift it was to experience this in such a vile way. And so I believe that I am, for the most part on the other side of it. And
Yeah.
it did shut me down for a while. It did close my throat. I wanted to close my heart. I stopped even being intuitive,
Right.
right?
Right.
But now it's like it peeled so much away from me that it was the best gift I could have ever received.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Paula. And and I would say that in knowing like there, I talk about in the level one program, we talk about the light and dark in it because it's an important conversation because for so many mediums, and I know because it was this way for myself as well, that having anything to do with the dark was something that was I just couldn't go there, so I was very afraid. But I believe of course that education is power, and as we become to understand the practices and skills and tools that we have to be empowered in those moments instead of disempowered are so essential. And
Yeah.
even as we go into the level 2 program, and especially we start working with curse energy because that's a part of it. Like there are people intentionally who will not just gossip and talk about you behind your back, but will actually create what are curses and judge through their harsh judgments against a person. And then we wonder why we have accidents, why we're ill, why things are, financially we're struggling. All of those things can be because there has been something that has been directed, at us in one way, shape, or form. And so I thank you for allowing for this to be a part of the conversation tonight because where there's light, there is dark. And so this is a piece of it. But I think more importantly, it comes into this awareness of the fact that the light is always more powerful than the dark. And that we have ways in which we can, even if we're challenged, becomes an invitation for us to show up for ourselves, to show up in our truth, to show up and speak our truth in even more powerful ways than we have before. And I think
Yeah,
that's
I've
been
never
a
felt more
big piece of
myself.
it.
Yeah.
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 It was such an invitation. So
Oh
yes,
my
thank you.
gosh. Oh my God. You're so welcome. Oh my gosh. Thank you for the vulnerability of that. And yeah, I know. It's like as soon as I ask the question, I'm like, oh, I know she doesn't want to go there. But it's important. And I think it helps, again, giving voice to it is empowering as well.
Yeah.
Giving voice to it is the very thing that lessens the effects that it actually has, right? So that being said, what advice do you have for mediums who are maybe afraid in those ways, or they're
Mhm.
afraid of stepping forward, they're afraid of quitting their job and moving in this direction? What advice do you have for anyone that's really struggling to really step into their light?
Oh, it's such a big question. Advice do you have for someone who's struggling? Honestly, you guys, the best medicine for me has always been my faith. So when I get in my head, I get in story, I get in fear, I want to hide, I want to shut down. I just connect to God and I pray because that's where the light is. It's in you. And when you do that, it really just, I'm not going to say it makes it all go away because our mind is still active, but the energy of that practice and the intention of that practice can allow for some of whatever might be coming at you from your wounds, your beliefs, or someone else. It can help it to fizzle. And when you fizzle those things, beliefs, wounds, other energy that isn't yours, there's nothing else that can happen, but you will be more of you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Not only will you be more of you, but you will be more of God that's looking to express through you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Oh my gosh.
So
Oh,
when I shake and talk about this story and my experience, I don't necessarily want to do it, but I have to find the courage. You kind of alluded to that, because when I share this, this is part of who I am. I mean, it's even in my astrology. It's hilarious, but not hilarious. It's part of who I am, and
Yeah,
I
yes.
yeah. So if I can speak to this part of this, job or this world or this experience or this piece of me, that teacher in me, the experience I had with that, it just allows for that light to expand, to grow, to for
Mhm.
my voice to do the same. And if I can just, turn the light switch up a little bit more on one other person just by hearing that, because maybe they've experienced something similar, then I guess my job's done.
Oh my gosh, Paula, like, if we had a mic, can we just drop it? Like, so good, so good. Because again, I live in prayerfulness. It's one of my main practices as well. That through everything, any challenge, anything that comes up for me, I right away go to my source. I'm right away in connection to what is a higher power that's directing and guiding, and that can lend what is the shift in energy or whatever it's going to be that
Mhm.
needs to take place for me. So I completely resonate with what you said. And that's where, again, this is, I remember that even having some of the chaos or darker experiences that began to happen in our home, even as once I became a mom, and I've got kiddos now, and they're starting to have experiences with and very scary things going on. I remember that's exactly what I was told. What I was told, say, Bonnie, you need to find your faith, and whatever faith you have, you need to stand in what you believe. And it's
Yeah.
because you're not, because of a lack of faith, that there is a vulnerability there. So find your faith. Let your faith be whatever you need it to be, but find it. That was
Yeah.
the greatest wisdom of guidance that I had ever received, because without my faith, I would not be able to move forward and to continue to do the work that I do today.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally
Yeah.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah, so good. Oh my gosh, so good. There are a lot of people who are attending this event, Paula, whether tuning in tonight or listening, of course, to the recordings, which of course are not only they're available on the event page for this as well, but even after the event is over, I want to make sure to mention they're on my YouTube channel, so there's going to be opportunity, to continue to listen or re-listen to things. But people who are dealing with the loss of a loved one, we said earlier, this is the death surrounds us, that we're always dealing in some form of death, and working and being close to people who are grieving are a part of doing this work. And so, what advice do you have to offer for those who are struggling or dealing with the loss of a loved one right now?
My favorite thing that I do, and that I probably share with every person that comes to see me, is that I like to remind myself and people that that loved one of yours has planted a seed in you. And, you didn't meet them by accident, or you weren't in their life by accident. And they shared a piece of themselves with you that allowed for something that was already in you to grow. And so when they've passed on, honor them and honor yourself by tending to those seeds and nurturing those seeds, and allowing that piece of them to grow within you in unison with who you are. And it's the very thing that I do with my grandpa. He was by far one of my favorite people. He showed me my connection to nature, right? And so
Yes.
he fostered that in me as a little girl. And it's why I know he's with me when I have experiences like I had today. It's that seed of, when I feel lost and I need to reconnect and I need that faith and that presence back, I go to nature. And then, you come around the bend and you see the most beautiful forest canyon full of trees in the mountains you've ever seen, and the sun is shining on them. And I know he's there,
Yeah.
because that seed is already in me. And then I took that moment today, and I went slow and I stayed present, and I was the curious little girl that was with my grandpa. And so it helps me to be in my heart with who he was, and who he brought. what he brought up in me, and it takes away the feeling that he's gone. It's like, well, he's right there. He's in that tree. He's in that ripple in the water. He's in the rock I just noticed. He's in the fish I could see go by. He's in the wisp in the clouds. He's, he's even on the crazy bumpy road that I thought I was going to die on. Like, he's there. He's
It's
always
there.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the
Yeah.
seed, the seed. I
Oh.
always go back to that. I'm like, I'm not saying don't miss them, don't grieve. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, what is it they gave you and how can you nourish that?
Oh, I love that so much. It's like saying, asking what were the best qualities of that individual and how can I begin to bring out those qualities as in myself as a way to honor them,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my
They
God,
live.
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, that's really beautiful. Thank you for that, Paula. All right, I can't believe how quickly these conversations
Oh,
fly by. Like, it's just crazy. I want to make sure to pop over into the chat forum
yeah.
here. Of course, to everyone that's here. Oh my goodness. I know it's the last night. I'm sad too. Oh my God, Christina, hello. Oh my gosh, Heather, Brenda, I know I'm loving it. Yeah, Faith coming in from Michigan. She's going, I'm so sad. I know. Oh, and with that being said, Faith, I'm so sorry. She's saying too that that tonight is 1 year ago that her brother took his life. Oh my gosh. So, my love to you. And I know that it's so hard to move through a tragic loss to begin with, let alone through suicide, which is, just to me in reconciling, there it just feels like there can sometimes be so much that was left unsaid or so much that was yet, a life yet to be lived. And so yeah, my condolences to you. And that first year is challenging. That first year, this is about not pushing yourself, not rushing anything. There's a lot of different feelings and emotions and first that come up, whether birthdays and those other celebrations and gatherings, and of course the first anniversary. One of the things that Spirit has said to me or said to my clients, even through time and time again in sessions, is to like not don't remember my death, but remember all of the other days in between, the days that I lived, the days that I laughed, the days that we shared, the special moments. Remember that, but don't remember my death. They don't want their death celebrated. They want their life celebrated. So if you can do that, that's going to really help you to even move through this, through not only tonight, but on everything else to come. So my love to you, Faith. Gail saying hello to us. Julie asking, what do you do when you're faced with dark entities? Paula, you're a master at this.
Uh, you know what? I get help because that is not something that a person, no matter how trained you are in this, can do alone. And so if I feel something, intuitively, and I know it's there, in the past year, I reached out to Bonnie, for example, and said, and I never tell her anything. I just say, hey, you know, and she's like, oh my God, there's blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, cool. And then I get her help. So energy work for sure. But the other part of this, which I would say recently more so realized, is that darkness can't get to us unless there's something going on in us where we've allowed it to come in. And that's usually some sort of wound that we got going on, some sort of fear, where we kind of have like a leak in our energy. And so the internal work is where it needs to start. So I could keep going to Bonnie and she could keep doing the I don't do my own internal work, and I
Right.
hear some of those other things, like being scared of those things,
Yeah.
having a fear of entities and that kind of thing. They'll just keep coming back.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I
Oh my
mean,
gosh. Yeah, and that's a big piece of it too. I want to say, where as talked about earlier, when we look at, where there's light, there's dark, where there's positive, there's negative, where there's angels, there's entities. It's a part of what exists within things. But to know also that even though we judge darkness as being dark, as something wrong or negative, it's just light that's waiting to be recognized as light. And so what I mean by that is that even the entities serve a purpose, that they are what is the ultimate wake up call for us. So if we're having any disruptions, disturbances, or anything, which of course can be, I mean, terrifying, but if that is what's taking place, it's the ultimate wake up call that there's something that we need to address inside of ourselves. There's something, whether it's a belief, as Paula said, there's a fear that sits there. It's an invitation. They often are an invitation for us to step into our power.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so, what do you do? Yeah, call for help, find the support that you need. Also in knowing that through your ability, and this is, again, I'm going to speak in terms of the things that played out in my life, in my ability to find my faith, when that was starting to become chaotic and we were starting to have this chaos in my home, and I was like, I am not going to have this be where how my kids grow up. And when I was told to find my faith, because my lack of faith is what created the vulnerability. And basically, they showed up and said, how about now? Are you ready to step in your power now? Are you ready to claim your life? Are you ready to be who you are in the world? Are you done hiding? Because we're going to continue to come after you, so to speak, which sounds like, I mean, harsh in what it is, but that was the reality of it. So
Yeah.
here again, so that's in one sense. The other thing is when I've done space and energy clearings, and I will come into where there's been poltergeist activity or things in people's homes, and these entities are there, the entities serve a purpose, because what they do is they basically create a disruption in the home, one that might be get our attention to get an earthbound soul to be crossed over, or they might that's again the ultimate wake up call for the family in that home, serving a purpose there. Once I always find that, we have the ability to talk with those in the light, and the entities are light. It's just a different variation of light. But I find it helpful to actually engage with the entity to find out what its purpose is. And if I can communicate with an angel and I can communicate with a spirit, I can communicate with the entity. And even though they might be vile or they might be harsh in the energy of the experience, once I can find out their purpose, then I can actually recognize, okay, we actually don't need this, you don't need it here anymore. Send them back to the dimension that they came. And I'll tell you what, thank them for how they've served and let them know how much you love them, because thank you so much. I really love that you were able to do this and help this family. I really love that you were able to help me. You're gonna get they're gone in no time. They don't want the love. They're not there for the love. They're not there for the gratitude. They're not right. And anything, when you hear we hear that saying, kill people with your kindness. It's how we deal with entities too.
Yeah, I love that,
Yeah.
Bonnie. That's great advice.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh my God. Really great question, Julie. Really great question. Veronica, hello. Veronica says, thank you for sharing your biggest challenge. I can tell it was challenging. A lot of my first experiences with energy workers were, well, what not to do. It caused a lot of fear that I'm now working through. So thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Yeah, yeah. That's unfortunate, Veronica, where we have experiences with people where we realize that, hey, hang on a second, that that isn't how I want to be doing this work. That sometimes that can be a part of it too. That we have these experiences with people just so that the universe can teach us what not to do and how to have integrity and how to be more empowered within our own lives, as well as how to be more compassionate, more loving, more gentile with individuals. So, and and considerate. And so there's learning to be had in all of it for us, for sure. Oh my gosh. Christina, hi. She's like, loving the conversation. Love hearing your story, Paula. Christina said, you spoke a lot about energy, frequency, changing our vibration. What are some effective ways to elevate or shift our vibe? I have experienced 2 frequency upgrade sessions with Paula, and it helped me to experience a big shift. So powerful.
Well, there's all the things, like your diet can help you. Nature obviously helps you. People like me and Bonnie help you. But again, I'm going to go back to that internal work because, meditation, you can go meditate all you want, but if you got something inside of you that you're not facing, that's going to deplete your energy and deplete um, your vibration in some way. And it's not bad. I mean, we're all human, we go through these things. Every one of us has wounds. They're subconscious. Some are a little more conscious than others, but you know, I know I've raised my vibration, my frequency, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
because of what I went through. And because of what I went through, I dealt with a long list of wounds, a scroll, maybe a
Right.
mile long. And I can tell that that has helped more than, maybe even doing clearings on myself. It all matters. It all matters.
It all matters,
Yeah.
exactly. I
Yeah.
just, thank you for that, Paula. I just did the level 2 launch retreat here a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about vibrations. So, we're talking about, again, basically, this is, from a girl who didn't understand what vibration was. I've come to understand vibration basically is how good or bad you feel. And when you feel bad or you're feeling sad, you're in a lower vibration. When you're happy, you're in a higher vibration. And again, when we look at this as being energy sensitives, there are certain things that, of course, just as Paula said, we need to continue to do the work because our work is what raises our vibration. It's what help, and it's the very thing that helps us to sustain that vibration as well. But if you're feeling in a funk, like the best thing you can do is to look at a somatic release. And what I mean by that is basically shake out the funk, which means shake out your body, jump up and down, do something to move that energy. You don't need to stay there. So just doing a physical release of any kind, even if you're just, like I said, jumping up and down in the spot, listen to music, dance, do anything that helps to express any energy that is keeping you in a lower vibration. If I move into a reading and I'm feeling a little bit low vibrationally, I just ask my angels and guides to clear and release all the non-beneficial energies and help adjust my vibration so I can be of greatest service to my client. And then even during that session, if I'm not quite connecting very well with spirit, I simply just ask my team, "Hey guys, shift my vibe." So I
Mm.
use my connection to be able to shift the in vibration as well, and I'm doing my work outside of those sessions as well. Great question, Christina. Oh my gosh, so good. Heather's saying, thank you, very inspiring, and you're an amazing person. I know she is. She's so great. Gail saying, very interesting to hear you talk about the dark. I too want to believe in the light. Faith from my mother. Yes. Oh my gosh. So great. Okay. You're welcome, Tara. Oh my gosh, you're so welcome. The stories, the knowledge. I'm so great. I'm glad that it resonated with you. Um, so Julie is asking, I guess this is in the follow-up to talking about the entities earlier. So to use them to empower us into direction, I wouldn't say use them for it, but recognize they're coming forward to push you into your power. So
Mhm.
look at it and then take a look at what you need to heal, what you need to release, what wounds are affecting you. Where is your faith? What practices do you have? And it's all about helping you to become, I mean, they come forward to push you in the direction, but don't use them for the direction. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Oh my gosh, Jenny, you are so welcome. You're so welcome, so welcome, refreshing, insightful. Thank you, Paula. You already know I adore you, she says.
I'm so glad you came, Jenny.
So great. Oh my gosh. Yes. So good. Everybody's learning so much. Oh my goodness. Love it. Brenda says too, doing your inner work and facing our wounds is very freeing and it helps us to move forward in life. 110%. I love that. Brenda says she uses a rebounder to raise her vibes. I love that. Exactly. Jump for joy, use your rebounder, whatever you can. It really helps. It's a matter of moving that energy. I know Julie says she uses a rebounder as well. So wonderful. Oh my gosh, this has been so wonderful indeed. Paula, Thank you very, very much. Like, truly, girl, I just really appreciate your willingness to come forward to share your story and, of course, to have the conversation about the light and the dark because it's an important one. And I just appreciate your vulnerability and your authenticity that you just share with all of us. You just know I love you, and I know that you've got amazing purpose in this life. You wouldn't have been challenged otherwise. So, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this conversation. And to everyone, whether you're tuning in live, whether you're listening to the recordings later, can I just say the biggest thank you? Thank you for making this event so purposeful that your contribution, your seeking, your asking is the very reason this event came into fruition. It was something of guidance that I followed because there were prayers, there were asking, there were people who were seeking. And I'm so glad that I could be a small part of your journey and inspiring you forward in your light. To those of you who are dealing with loved ones, know that your love keeps you connected forever. And it is your love that will continue to hold you and their love that will continue to comfort you. So be kind to yourself, honor where you are on your journey. And my goodness, God bless each and every one of you. Thank you so very much for being a part of A Medium's World with me. And Paula, again, thank you for being who you are. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.